Well, hi there, this is Trolls from ATO, and in this video we're taking a look at our new Bazantar. Bazantar is a very unique instrument. It's actually the only one of its kind in the world, and it was created by the great Deutsch, who's also the only player of the instrument. And we had the pleasure of recording it a couple of years ago and really recording in great depth in terms of getting both the plucked sort of qualities of it and the sustains and arcs and effects and phrases and a variety of other things. But as time has gone by, we've learned a lot about programming and really advancing the instruments and the way we program them. So this one was really overdue. It's really one of the sort of beautiful and unique instruments in the ATO catalog, and one I've used on many of my demos. And what's so special about it is it's a 5-string upright bass, but it has 29 sympathetic strings underneath it and 4 additional strone strings on the neck as well. Let me show you a couple of pictures here. So you can see the 5 main strings here and then the additional drone strings on the side of the instrument that would be over here as well. And they're really fat. But one of the issues Mark had when he built the instrument was that the tension of the resonators, these 29 resonators, was so strong that he had to build a separate resonant chamber for the instrument. The neck and the whole instrument would simply break if you put it that many strings and with that much tension on it. So he actually patented this very unique casing, resonant casing around the instrument here. Let me show another picture. It looks like this. And what's so great about it is that the tension of these strings is sitting within their own compartments, so they don't really disturb the rest of the instrument. But when things starts vibrating through the wood here, it gets picked up by the resonators, and that is one of the most unique qualities about this instrument. So the way I view it is that it's an evolution of the traditional orchestral instrument, in this case the upright bass, because not only do you have 9 strings here on the front, but all that vibration gets carried down here in the resonator. And another part to this instrument is that it took Mark over 10 years to create. You can just see a little bit of the chaos that he went through in terms of creating it here. It's an absolutely beautiful and unique instrument, and I think in many ways it's a little bit an instrument of the future, and it also sounds that way. But let me take you into the library here. As you can see, the chord patches here are neatly organized. You have both the plucked or the percussive taps, sustained with non-vibrato, sustained with vibrato, and 4 different types of multisample arcs as well. And together that's really all you need to really play the instrument in this sort of foundation. And on top of that, the library also comes with hundreds and hundreds of custom phrases that you can use together with the multisamples here and really create unique scores. For example, the wonderful shows Vikings by Morris is featuring it rather heavily. It sort of has an ancient and sometimes medieval quality to it. It's really just a unique instrument because of the way that all those resonators shine. But let's just get into it here. Let me play a little bit with the plucked patch here. And it's actually an awesome patch to start the instrument with, because the second you hear it, you're going to be like, oh, this is an upright bass. But then all of a sudden, the resonators start shining out. And one of the cool things about the Bazantar is, like, depending on what note you play, different resonators start shining. So I'm also going to demonstrate our tap patch here. These are different percussive taps on the instrument. You can see that each key down here marks a different tap on the instrument. And these actually have 10 round robin each, so there's a lot of variation in them. And they're just awesome for creating sort of more unique percussive grooves. I'm going to try to show you. So the plucked and tapped are just 2 examples of sort of the short notes on the instrument. Let me try to play here with our sustained non-vibrato, and there's a cool trick. If you go here to our effects page here and you assign the high EQ here to any kind of controller you want, I actually have it assigned to my mod wheel, you can control the bow stroke of the instrument, the sound, that gentle sound of the bow going over the strings. So let me play here with the patch, and then just notice down here on the high EQ what happens. This is just me moving my mod wheel and mimicking that bow stroke of the instrument. And this is one of those instruments that I just love having the ring out of it. You know, you hear those beautiful sitar-like resonators just go meow. Let me also demonstrate another patch here. This is our vibrato patch, so we just listen to the non-vibrato, but let me also play here with the vibrato patch. And this one, I'm not going to use the bow stroke thing, and you can hear everything is going to be a little more sort of round and warm sounding, but without that sort of distinct tone of the bow. Oh yeah, this is a very real library. You can hear like the player, the tension of this very, very beautiful and unique instrument. Let me play one of the arcs here, and let me just play it twice actually. Let me start by playing here with the fire microphone and then play with the closed microphone. The Bazantar was recorded in a beautiful church environment, so there's a lot of beautiful shine to the fire microphones, but if you really want that more close, intimate feel, use the close, or ideally use them together. But let me just demonstrate here with the fire first. It's funny, I remember in the sessions when we were recording it, Mark Deutsch kept on talking about like the instrument needed to cook. He called it cooking, meaning that you really need to open up those resonators. That's why sometimes when you play the deep note, it takes a little while for the instrument to sort of start blooming the deep notes of the resonators, because the instrument simply has to vibrate in a certain way. Let me play the same thing here again. This time I'm going to take the closed microphone, and then I'll dial in the fire microphone so you can hear what they sound like combined. But let's listen to the closed first, and then I'll dial in the fire later on. Let me show you another arc here, but with this one, let's have a little bit of fun here. Let me downtune it an octave as it wasn't deep enough, and then let's play with it. And with a sound like that, you simply just let it ring out. Let me try to play the same thing here again, but this time around I'm going to right click here on the gate and assign it to my controller so I can control the gate sort of locking and opening itself on the sound here. You can do some really cool things. So we're 12 semitones down and we're going to activate the gator. Both microphones are on. One of the cool things about the gate here is that you can create your own rhythm by clicking here on the outskirts of the circle here. But you can also control the tempo down here from 8th notes up to all the way to 64 triplets. So any way you want that gate to work, it can do it for you. Let me demonstrate another arc here. Let's go to arc number 3. Let me play one more thing here with arc number 4. It is so good. You know, samples sometimes are joy to play when they really have that musical quality. You're just sitting on the keys, everything's just working exactly how you want. And that's what this patch pretty much does, the arc number 4, to me at least, in terms of that sort of more expressive and emotional quality. Let me also go through a couple of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phrases we have in the library here. We call them Bazantar phrases. There's actually 2 banks that each have multiple patches inside of them, so there's way more than I can possibly demonstrate in this video. But let me just play with a couple of the different patches here. Each of these keys here mark a unique phrase, and we both have them completely tempo synced for Time Machine Pro, but we also have them DFD here. So I'm just going to play the raw DFDs. I have both microphones on. I really like this library in particular for microphones. It really does benefit when you put the fire on in terms of having a little more fullness to the sound. But again, each of these patches here actually has a unique set of phrase samples in them. So you can see there's a lot when we go through them here. So I'm just going to demonstrate, a couple handfuls so you can get a feeling for what these phrases are. But just keep in mind that you can manipulate them a lot more with the Time Machine Pro tools and all the other goodies in the library. and there will be hours and hours of the most sad soundtrack ever made if I continue to do this. Let me show you a couple of the presets. The library obviously comes with a wealth of presets as well, and one of the really cool features that we've also added to the library is not only the ability to mix microphones and have all the front-faced effects and all the other things here and access to any articulation here, but it's also that you can stack any articulation you want here. So what you do is to click the symbol down here, and then you just click on whatever patch you want here, and all of them are all of a sudden stacked together. So in this case here, I stacked the Plucked and the Arc 1 and the Arc 4 and made them sort of into their own unique beast. And then I also added the form convolution here. Form is our textural convolution delay that not only creates a delay of the sound, but also a delay of the convolution impulse on top of the sound here. And the library comes with a really beefy set here of custom convolutions by our sound design team. And you can also access them here from our transform reverb here. And for an instrument like the Bazantar, it's awesome because you really get those otherworldly qualities even more enhanced when you start adding convolution impulses on top of it. So let me just play a little bit with the patch here. Isn't it cool? Let me show another preset here as well, using the stacking function, but this time it's actually stacking between two different patches, but using our AB LFO here. So when you look at the patches here, you can see that it says A and it says B, meaning that they're either assigned to group A or assigned to group B. And when you use the LFO down here, you essentially crossfade between the two different patches here. So in the beginning here, it's going to be playing the sustained non-vibrato, and then it's going to crossfade into the B section here, which is up here. So you get that natural sort of beautiful crossfade. And you can do the modulation as crazy as you want if you want to do that. But it's a really cool way of pulsing between two different articulations. You can do some really interesting stuff. So in this case here, we're morphing between non-vibrato and vibrato in a sort of fluent way. And let me just wrap the video up here with one last play with our third arc here, which is one of my favorite arcs in the library. And it's actually funny because over the years, what I've really learned to appreciate with the Bazantar, I think at the beginning was the fascination with the big notes when it really cooks and makes that sort of otherworldly shine in the deep notes. And there's so much to be derived from that. It is really the only instrument of its kind. But what I've learned to appreciate more is also the gentle nature of the library and the way that Mark plays it and treats the instrument. And it comes particularly through here in the arcs because he really was emotionally invested when he played them here. So when you play with the arcs, try to sort of just feel them and use the bow stroke trick here that I talked about in regards to the effects here to mimic the natural bow stroke. You can really infuse a lot of your own emotion into it when you use the feature right. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with this library, and it really comes down to your own interpretation. It's one of those libraries that it sort of molds to the hands that plays it. It's not a generic sample library. It has so much personality, and the way you use it really makes it your own personal Bazantar. But let me just wrap it up here with the third arc here, played with my style, and that's sort of a more soft, gentle, lyrical approach instead of always going big and bombastic, which the library can certainly do as well. But I think there's some beautiful subtleties in both the light notes and the deep notes of the Bazantar. This is Trolls from ATO, signing out.